I'm deployed in Iraq. And please heed my warning. There are spiders in the shadows. Consider for a moment, if you would, the common spider. Are you scared of it? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. There's a widespread enough fear. Scary to some, though to many they're simply nothing. Something to be gently scooped up and thrown out a window, or crushed perhaps, swiftly underfoot. You have to admit, though, however you feel, they are alien in their monstrosity. Animals obey a set of agreed-upon rules. 2 or 4 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, a tail maybe. Then there are insects, 6 legs, they fly, etc., etc. And spiders, 8 legs. Still as death, they sit in place, waiting, watching, and then they scurry. They scurry fast on those 8 legs of theirs, always faster than you'd expect. And if you aren't quick enough, you lose it to the shadows. Then you'll be forced to accept the reality that it lurks with you somewhere in the room. Fangs. On large enough spiders, you can hear them. You can actually hear the fangs grind as they dream on their next meal. No ears, a body covered in sharp and razor-thin bristles. They instead pick up sounds and vibrations on this fine, dark hair. And those eyes. Tiny, for sure, but not entirely unrecognizable like eyes of a fly are, for instance. No. Spider eyes are just familiar enough to be unsettling. Look into a spider's eyes and you can feel it looking back at you from all 8 of them, watching. I cough quietly, clearing my throat as discreetly as possible in the cloud of dust, swinging the beam of my flashlight from wall to wall of the passage. "Sparky," I murmur in a voice just above a whisper. "Here, boy." I whistle a few long, low notes. I hear no response. I flinch as I feel a tickle along my elbow, but the beam of the flashlight reveals what I'd expected. Another web, or the strand of such, warm and sticky. I peel it away and hastily roll down the sleeves of my army-issued tan shirt with a shiver. I wonder if anyone has noticed my disappearance back at the base. I've only been gone for an hour or so, but it's possible. I hadn't anticipated being drawn so deep and foolishly. I never even told anyone where I was going. My footsteps echo around the dark and dusty remains of the dried up, out-of-use sewer corridor. Sparky fell down the open manhole cover. The one I had to climb down to get here. I'm sure of it. I saw him almost do so once before, and you know what I did? I laughed. His reaction was just so amusingly human. I promised I'd close the hole off before he had a chance to stumble again, and I forgot. I did deem it a priority, so I pushed the job aside, and now I'm paying the price. Or more accurately, Sparky is paying the price. He's a good dog. He doesn't deserve this. I call his name again in that hushed, semi-paranoid stage whisper. There's something deeply unsettling about these tunnels, more so than one would expect. The only thing keeping me from bolting and running back the way I came is the knowledge that I probably wouldn't be able to gather up the courage to come down again for a second attempt. And I'm not asking for help either. I already get enough shit. I'm not giving the guys more ammo. I wipe the sheen of sweat from my forehead and push deeper into the dusty sewer beneath the desert town above. The tunnel branches off in two separate directions. The webs are thicker here. I've never seen them so thick before in my life. They stretch out in the great long strands from wall to wall, ceiling to pipe. And they glisten faintly in the light of the flashlight. "Sparky!" I call out, daring a little raise in volume. And at the edge of hearing, I pick up a response. A low whine. It sounds like Sparky, all right, coming very distinctly from the left. I swing around the beam and increase my pace, muscles tight and teeth grit as I push past the freakish webs. We were warned about the creatures before deployment. The desert scorpions and spiders and such. I didn't realize they made webs, though. I've never seen any above ground. I thought the creatures lived in holes in the sand. They won't kill you, I keep thinking. No worse than a wasp sting. Besides, there's nothing for them to catch down here. Any spiders would likely be dead. So stop worrying. You're okay. I'm okay. My ears catch the sound of nearby water dripping repetitively onto the metal pipes. It makes me thirsty and more aware of the dryness of my own mouth. I look around, but I can't see the water's source nor any puddles. There's only dust and sand. And web. I push deeper. The air becomes thicker and hotter. Sweat leaks down my back, but Sparky is close. I know it. I can't leave him behind. "Where are you, boy?" I murmur, flinching as the back of my hand connects with another strand of web. I peel it away and wipe my hand on my khakis. Ahead, the tunnel breaks apart. The main passage is blocked by a tumble of fallen rock and concrete. To my right is a crack in the wall, leading away into shadow. And to my left is another, albeit slightly wider. "Sparky!" I call out, my voice wavering. And I hear him. It's definitely him. A long series of whines and whimpers. My heart beats faster. He sounds scared. I clamber over a ridge of rock and through the crack into the shadows. The room is thick with webbing to the extent that I cannot see any of the walls. I have no idea how large this space might be. It's broken up by clusters of pipes, some broken, some still held together, but all plastered in dust and sand. And still, despite the dryness, there's that sound of dripping water against the metal all around me now, but I cannot see it. "Jesus," I mutter, withdrawing my knife and slicing through the nearby strand, ducking past it and heading deeper into the room. My boot kicks up dust against a smatter of small bones hidden in dust, and they clatter noisily across the floor. I paused, tensed. For a moment, there is silence. And then the dripping resumes. And I hear a bark. "Sparky, it's me! I'm coming for you, boy!" I expect the dog to bark again, perhaps a little more excitedly, but he does not. He only whines. "Sparky, it's okay, boy. I'm coming. Hold on." I slice my way through a long series of strands that block my way, sending shivering vibrations off into the shadows along their network as I do. The speed of the dripping increases. Little watery taps against the metal. It's maddening. I'm starting to wonder if the sound is even real or if it's all in my head. My flashlight flickers and I curse, hitting it lightly with the back of my hand. If this thing goes out, well, I don't much like the thought of trying to stagger my way out of this place in the pitch black. I step over a line of pipes at knee height and raise the beam up ahead. And that's where I see him. I see my faithful dog. He barks when he sees me and twitches his head. It's the only part of him visible. What the? Sparky is suspended in the air at an angle, wrapped in thick, translucent webbing. He struggles against his bindings in the dark, whining a little more desperately now. I don't understand. Despite the claustrophobia of the sticky, shadowy warmth all around, I'm forced to suppress a shiver as I am overcome with a sickening sensation of pure, cold fear. Icy water flows fast through my veins. There's nothing on earth that could wrap a dog up in a web. Not a big dog like Sparky. This is sick. What the hell is happening? Is this some kind of nightmarish prank? I laugh awkwardly, unsure of how else to respond, but there's no surprise reveal. No one jumps out at me. The flashlight flickers. "All right, Sparky, let's get you out," I whisper. I can no longer summon the strength to speak at a normal volume. To do so would feel antagonistic. I use the knife to slice through the edge of Sparky's binding as carefully as I can with my shaking hand. It's a slow process. I don't want to hurt him. Eventually, I cut through enough for the strands to start stretching and tensing of their own accord. Sparky is able to kick his legs and he starts to slowly drop towards the floor. I catch him and help pull him free, though clusters of his fur are taken in the process, the poor thing. Once back on the ground, he presses himself up against my leg as tightly as he can, and as if released on some deeper level too, from some kind of spell perhaps, he suddenly starts to growl. I hear it in the back of his throat. His fur ripples upwards and he looks to my immediate right, barking once, loud and sharp. I swivel to my right, heart pounding, casting the beam of the flashlight past the pipes and into the dusty darkness. And my breath catches painfully in my throat. I see a man, a shadowy shape in the darkness, leaning against the cluster of vertical pipes. He's wearing an army uniform, crumpled and dust-stained, facing away from me. I don't recognize the back of his head or anything. I don't think he's from my barracks, but he's an American at least, going by the combat gear. I take a step back. Sparky remains pressed up against me, and I can feel his energy through my leg. "Hello?" I murmur, then a little louder. "Hey, buddy! What the fuck are you doing in here, man? Everything okay?" Aside from a little flick of his wrist, he doesn't move. He remains in place. My heart pounds faster, and the dripping continues. And there's another noise, too. I didn't notice it before, but now that I'm staring right at him, I realize that the man is making a sound. It's hard to place. It's soft and muffled, like ripping or tearing. His hand twitches again. He shines bright, illuminated, sickly in the glare of the flashlight, surrounded by the shadows of webs in this terrible place beneath the earth. Buddy, I try to call out again, but the words don't make it past my lips. His hand twitches for a third and final time, and as does his entire arm. And then, to my utter horror, it disconnects from his shoulder with a tearing of fabric and the breaking of several strands of thin, grayed flesh. It smacks against the ground and sends up a cloud of sandy dust and particles catching the light. He jerks. Something crawls from the arm socket. Two long and sharp black legs, and then a third, and a fourth. I realize in sickening dismay that the man's body is held up to the ceiling by several long vines of web connected to his shoulders. This new imbalance in his weight sends him gently turning, spinning on the spot, and his head comes around and into the light, and it lolls, sickening to the side. His face is gone, as is most of the front of his head, hollowed out, a cave of flesh. I didn't notice Sparky start to bark, but he is barking, I realize. Like I've never heard him do so before. I can't breathe. I don't even blink. I take a step back on quivering legs. The dripping sounds increase tenfold, like rain, sharp droplets tapping away at the metal pipes. Except it's not rain. It's not even water, I realize. I raise the flashlight beam up to the ceiling. I cannot see how high up it goes in here. The layers of webbing are too thick, but the pipes are visible, and the sounds are not made by any drops of water. I see the truth in their source as I look up above. They are the sounds of a hundred sharp legs tapping against the pipework as their owners scuttle from place to place. I do not get a good look at them. There are too many to focus on, obscured through web and shadow, but they are spiders, swarming now overhead. Some as large as cats, some, to my horror, much bigger. Something colossal moves in the darkness, slow but gigantic, and I run. "Sparky, with me!" I scream, but there's no need. The dog does not leave my side. Even when I stumble and trip over the pipes at knee height, as I crash hard onto the ground and lose my knife to the shadows, he stays with me. I cough and sputter and brush the dust from my eyes as I tear back through the darkness, back through the crack in the wall, and that incessant tapping growing louder and louder all around. I feel something brush the back of my head. Something catches my hair. I swear I can feel something scratch at my feet, but I do not stop. I run, and I run through that tunnel as fast as I can. I reach the broken ladder, and with the strength that the army drills into us day after day, I hoist up Sparky with a grunt and raise him up above my head to the light. He scrabbles his paws, but he knows where to go. With a final push and a step up onto the ladder, I force him through the open manhole, and I hear him start to bark loud over and over. I can feel them, the spiders, over my legs. I can hear them behind me in the tunnel. I hear the grinding of their fangs, but I do not look down. I do not look back. That would be the end of me. I just hoist myself up and climb, rung after rung, until I'm through the open hole, back into the dusty red light of the Iraqi evening, and I fill my lungs with a welcome breath of clean air. There's a can of gas right by me, against the wall of the building. I open it up in a frenzy and start to pour it down into the dark. I can see moving shapes beneath me. I hear a rapid clacking of legs and hissing of fangs. Some of my brothers in arms have responded to Sparky's noise. "Hey, boy," I hear them say. "B," they call to me. "What's going on?" But I don't answer. I can't yet. I click on my lighter and toss it down into the dark. The little flame travels through the shadows and then bursts outward in a ripple of orange fire, and a blast of heat shoots up from below. I veer backwards and crouch behind a nearby slab of concrete, grunting as I push it as hard as I can across the road to cover the manhole. "What the fuck is going on?" someone shouts, but I ignore him. I don't stop until the hole is completely covered, and I have hastened away by a good 10 or so feet. I collapse against a nearby wall, panting as the others stare down at me in confusion, and Sparky nuzzles affectionately into my lap. Upon returning Sparky to the barracks, I was treated with a burst of good vibes. Everyone was so happy to see him again. They helped to combat the creepy nausea, the disgust, and the fear at what lies beneath and not so far away. I didn't get them all with the fuel and the fire. I know it. There's no way. I'll inform command in the morning. I'll tell them about the soldier, but I'm sure as hell not going back down. Not ever. They can't make me. And I discovered something else. That night, as I undressed for bed, I didn't see it at first. I was too busy glancing up to the ceiling, to the shadows in the corners, expecting something to come creeping out at any second, scuttling towards me across the floor. My boots, covered in sand and rock dust, as you'd expect. They'll need to be thoroughly cleaned before inspection tomorrow, of course, but there's something else as well. Something smushed into the sole. It wasn't entirely clear what they were, but to me, they looked like eggs. Broken, splattered, opened clusters of eggs. And I can't help but wonder if they were broken before I brought them up.
Hello everyone, and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please leave a like and let others know where to find us. There's also a link to other works by the author in the description if you'd like to check them out. If you have any story suggestions, please leave them in the comments below or send us an email in the description. If you don't know what to comment, write, "There's no word for the word I want to say," and I hope to see you in the next one.